Welcome to another Boss Katana Mark II tone tutorial. I'm Scott, you're watching Guitarnivore, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat that this tone does not sound as good through the headphones and through this recording as it does coming out of that speaker from the amp, because I think it's just the resonance, and when you crank it, you just get all the feels of the tone itself. Sometimes things don't really translate very well when you go to record them from the line out. And that's where we are today. And I'm going to do this one a little bit different tonight. I'm not going to start from scratch and do a stereo tone. I'm just going to go through all the settings and kind of explain them to you and keep it rather short tonight. And the only riff I'll be playing to show you how it sounds is... So we'll go through each setting and kind of turn them off and on again. So starting right from the top, I put the amp on a crunch, because Zakk used a Marshall JCM 800 2203 100 watt amp for this album, and from what GuitarWorld.com tells me, that's my source. And so you would assume it anyway. But I got the crunch, and I've got the gain up to about 34, and my volume's up at 84 right now. You don't have to have it that loud when you load it up to your amp, but we just wanted to get a simple crunch tone going on there. And for the chain, I'm using chain 2-1, which is going to be a little weird because the mod I'm using is not a compressor, and normally you wouldn't use much before the amp EQ except like a compressor, but this time we're going to use a chorus, and I'll explain why in just a minute, and I'll let you compare. Going up on the EQ, I got the bass at 60, the middle at 64, and treble at 74. Over here, I did use a deep cabinet resonance with a presence of 73. Now, starting right off from the booster, the same article on GuitarWorld.com said that Zakk used a simple Boss SD1. So I think the closest thing to that, as far as the effects go, would be a Tube Screamer or the Warm Overdrive. The natural and the regular overdrive just don't quite get it there. So I used the Warm Overdrive, and I got the drive at 50, tone at 4, bottom at 13, and I do have a direct mix over here about 75. I got the effects level up at 60, and you're hearing, added that boost to it. And we're a little quiet, but let's go ahead and activate the Parametric EQ, and that's going to give us a big boost signal. Now, my usual go-to, 7 and -2, 40 and 250. For the levels, I've got +4, +4, and +3 on the level. But down here, I do have it turned down from 160 to 1.25 and from 5 to 4, just because it was a little too much on there. And of course, it's amp out, so let's turn it on. I might have to turn the volume up a little bit here. And we have another EQ going on there, but let's go back. We finished up the booster, and now we're going to move on to the mod. And also in that article, it said Zakk used a simple CH1. Now, I thought it might have been a phaser at first, just kind of listening to it, but when they said it was a chorus, I was like, yeah, okay, let's give it a shot. So I got the chorus, and I've got the low rate 20 and high rate at 22, 24, 30, 4 milliseconds up, 4 milliseconds down, 4 milliseconds down, 4 milliseconds, whatever you want to call it, low and high. Then on the high and low levels, I got them even at 50, and then 630. And I didn't do a direct mix on this because it sounded a little weird. Now, I said this is going before the amp EQ. Now let's hear it before the amp EQ, and then I'll compare it to the amp after the EQ. Now, it is a little quiet, so let's go back down to our EQ2, because I did have an amp out graphic equalizer over here where I just did all sorts of adjustments. If you want to pause it now, and take in those adjustments, or you can just download the patch later and not even have to worry about all that. But I made these adjustments just by ear, by listening and kind of just tweaking them in. I did turn some of the lows up a little bit, and then I fiddled with the mids and the highs just to get them where I needed to go. And as always, this one right here doesn't make a difference. I just left it alone. Let's turn it on. Off. On. You got to make sure you got those pinch harmonics in there that Zakk likes to do oh so much. So let's go back over to the mod. We got that chorus on, and now you can really kind of hear it in there. See, it just kind of sounds flat without it. Now, if we go back over to the chain and we put it after the EQ, it just sounds kind of weird. And I still tried to dial it in, and I couldn't. See, it has too much of that wavy effect, and even when I tried to tweak it and dial it down a little bit, you could still, that up and down, that chorus, that wave. Whereas if you put it on chain 2-1, it mellows that out a little bit. So I showed you the EQs, I showed you the effects. Now I do have just a slight reverb on there. Nothing too drastic. It's just a kind of a quiet room reverb. Just adds a little thickness to it. And that's about it. Besides our noise suppressor, I got that at 58 and 50 just because these are active pickups. If you got regular passive pickups, you may not have to turn that noise gate up so loud. And you can go in if you wanted to. If you got the 50, you may have to make some EQ adjustments to make it sound a little more fuller. You can do that from the Parametric EQ and add some low mids and some low gain on there as well, and play around with it. Don't be afraid to experiment with this at all, because it might just not sound quite right to your ears, especially if you're playing it from the speaker, and the acoustics of your room might make a big difference too. Now, if you want to learn this song, which there's not a whole lot to it except maybe the solos, and there's a lot of slide that is involved in this song too, I'll include a link to Mr. Tab's video where you can kind of learn it. There's also some tab on Ultimate Guitar, but if you can play along with Mr. Tab's down there, that's a really good one. And to me, it's a little easier to learn how to play it like that than it is to look at the tabs, because some of the tabs on Ultimate Guitar are official, but they're a little bit different. So check that out. As always, this tone will be down there for you to download from the Boss Tone Exchange. You will have to sign up for an account if you don't already have one. It's not really that big of a deal. You sign up and then you can download all the patches you want from there. And every patch I upload will be there. That's going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.